Hey there, what's up, and welcome to the Ditch and Switch Protocol. Now, if you're still unsure, my name is Tyrone Bray, and I'm the founder of Stronger Than Life Coaching. And of course, this is the Ditch and Switch Protocol program or mini-series where I'm essentially going to break down some of the core essentials of my metabolic matrix system so that you can actually get started, get rid of the uncertainty or the lack of clarity that you have so that you can move forward knowing that the actions that you're going to take are actually going to get you to the results that you want. Results like burning the belly fat, losing the excess weight, increasing your energy, increasing your confidence, your self-esteem, your ability to make decisions with certainty within your business, your ability to show up as a leader in your home and your family. That all starts with us learning how to take care of our body and being clear on exactly what it is we need to do in order to move forward and essentially reach the goals that we set for ourselves. Now, with this ditch and switch protocol, the reason we kind of got to this point is simply because there is so much going on. There are so many different options that we have. And unfortunately, humans, we're just loss averse. We don't like to lose anything. We don't like to feel like we're sacrificing or giving up much. So what we need to do whenever we take something away or take something away from ourselves, we ideally need to replace it with something else. So we take away a negative mindset, we replace it with a good one. We take away some form of food or habit or protocol that we're doing, then we need to replace it with something else so that we don't feel just like we're losing things all the time and not really seeing the gain or the positive on the other side of it immediately. Because that's the catch. Many of us want instant gratification. We're not very good at delaying our gratification. So as a result, we end up kind of throwing the towel in quite often and giving up because we feel like we've had to give up too much before we start seeing the results that we want. Now, the first thing that we kind of need to ask ourselves now that we're here is, well, why are you here? And for many of you, it's going to be because of something along these lines. So you're currently in this pit. Now, you may not even at this point perceive it as a pit, but many of us get here and there are various different pits that we'll go through in life. But essentially, you're probably overweight or out of shape. You know you need to do something with your body. You need to start working on it, improve your health, maybe your fitness, maybe your strength. And essentially, you need to change the way you look. Not necessarily because it's affecting all of your life, but it's affecting you, how you show up for you, the way you think, the way you feel, because you've just got this body that's become an anchor to you. Now, if you are overweight and obviously out of shape, it's likely you're suffering with a bit of a bulging belly. Maybe you've got excess body fat. Perhaps you keep sacrificing your health to your business or to other people and their needs and their demands. And ultimately what this tends to lead to when we over-focus on everything else outside of us and don't put enough focus on ourselves, we often end up with low confidence and low self-esteem because we allow ourselves to drift so far away from where we really want to be that we no longer feel like ourselves. It's like I'm in this body that's allegedly mine, but it doesn't really feel like me. It's not, this isn't who I thought I would end up as or the way I thought I'd end up. I need to do something about this. The catch is I struggle to do it. I'm unsure what to do. I don't know where to start and so on. And then unfortunately, what happens with this uncertainty and this result that we end up with in body is that it then tends to bleed or cascade into the rest of our life. So yes, you have a physical vessel that's become a problem to you. But this affects now our confidence, as I was saying, our ability to show up as our true, authentic self, our ability to show up as a confident and high-powered version of self that's able to assert self and make confident decisions and so on because we lack this sort of confidence and esteem within us. We've then also got the problem that it bleeds into relationships. We start wondering, well, does my partner still find me attractive? Do they even want to be with someone like me? I'm a bit of a fat slob. We realize that we're not setting a good example or role model for our kids. We can't play with our kids in the way that we want. We can't interact and whatnot with them. And then obviously when it comes back to our partner, we can't have the same level of intimacy and connection because there's this part of us that always wants to hold us back. We're too embarrassed to fully give ourselves and fully express ourselves because what if she thinks I'm fat? What if she doesn't find me attractive? Oh, she doesn't want my belly all over her and these types of things, which of course limits how far or how deep we can grow a relationship. And then, of course, this is going to bleed into our business life as well, or our ability to make money and to keep it and to grow it. So it's like, well, I now can't show up as a confident leader in my business because I'm not confident in myself. And if it wasn't for many of us who like or luckily have staff members and colleagues and so on, if it wasn't for having those, we probably wouldn't be anywhere near where we are because we're not actually showing up the way that we could. And if it wasn't for these other people taking care of certain roles, things would probably be fucking burning to the ground. So that's where we have to kind of realize it's like, yeah, okay, I've got my body. I can get by day to day. But the catch is it puts caps and limitations on everything we try to do when we're not showing up as the best version of ourselves. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to be ripped and jacked and all the rest of it, but it means we need a body that we're confident in. So on the flip side of this pit, what we need is to kind of go, okay, well, I need to get out of this pit and move towards the peak. The peak would essentially be your goal. Like, what's the outcome that you want? And essentially what we're trying to do is build a bulletproof body and mind. Now, what this means is you have a body that kind of is able to shield you from the stress and the chaos of your daily life and your chosen lifestyle. And of course, you have a mindset that enables you to stay true to your wants, your desires, your needs, regardless of the external influence of the world around us. And of course, that enables you to build a body that's fit, that's lean, that's strong, and is healthy. Now, as I say, that doesn't mean we have to be ripped and jacked, but it means we have to be in a body that we feel confident in, a body that makes us feel certain, that we know is capable and able to do the things that we actually want to do in life without causing a problem, without causing pain, without being uncomfortable, without being concerned about what other people may be thinking about us or how they may be judging us. And of course, in the same way that the negativity or the pit cascades across life, so does the peak. So of course, once we have this body, well, now we can show up more confidently in our relationships. We can show up as a true role model or leader in the family, both to our kids and to our partner, because we look and appear as somebody that can be respected. Not because, oh, well, now you should respect me, I've got a good body, but because we start to respect ourselves. And the moment we start to respect ourselves and show up differently, other people begin to respect us more too. Because if you have self-respect, it's impossible for anyone else to disrespect you, because your level of self-respect exceeds any respect or disrespect that comes from others. And then, of course, again, this bleeds into our business or our ability to make money and show up confidently in our business or our profession. And in doing so, productivity increases, effectiveness increases, profits tend to increase, and so on as well, because we show up with more certainty, we show up with more courage and more ability to get shit done. So this is essentially what we're looking at here. Yeah, of course, we're trying to fix our body and we're trying to loosen body fat and feel a bit fitter and a bit more confident, but it cascades across the whole of our lives. We're not just improving self, we're improving each domain of life that we experience. Our body, our being, our balance, and our business, all four grow at the same time when we start working on ourselves and learn how to actually channel our energy in the correct way. So on the back end of that, we now kind of have to go, okay, well, what led me to this point? So I'm in this pit. What actually got me here? And for many of us, as we say, it's that lack of clarity. We were uncertain and confused about what it was we needed to do or what it is that we need to do. It's like there are so many different options out there. What do I do first? Who do I listen to? What advice do I take? Because there is so much of it and it's all conflicting. So it gets hard for us to make a confident choice when we're stuck in this confused and uncertain state, which ultimately leads to us being unable to consistently take action. And therefore we end up lacking in the results that we want. And of course, we're here to get clear on, okay, well, these are the exact things I need to start doing in order to start moving forward and moving the needle in my results. So let's go and let's get clear, and then we can start taking action and ultimately get the results that we want in life. Now, the things that have been holding us back, of course, we've got multiple problems going on. There are obstacles in the way that prevent us from being certain, from being clear, and from having the courage that we need to move forward. Now, one of those I've already alluded to. There is just too much noise and contradiction. One expert says go vegan. This one says go paleo. He says go keto. This one's now saying go carnivore. And of course, there is everything in between that as well from all the different gurus and experts. So it gets very difficult to confidently make a decision and move forward and follow any one or the other of their advice or their regime or their protocol, because what if the other guy is right? He's an expert too, and he is apparently getting just as good a results as this one. So what if I pick the one that's not right for me? And the catch is there is a good chance you will. But at the same time, unless you actually move forward and start doing something, then you're not going to get any result at all. In fact, the only result we tend to get is a drift away from the true results that we actually want. So that's problem number one. too much noise, too much contradiction. Essentially, we're suffering from information overload. Now, that brings us on to problem number two. Problem number two is we're stuck in this point where we perceive a lack of time. It's like there's so many different options. I don't have the time to implement one of them, let alone all of them, because I'm trying to sort my business. I'm trying to grow that and earn money, or my profession. I'm trying to juggle my family and make sure my spouse gets enough time. And then I'm spending time with my kids and so on. And then I'm supposed to also find time for me. What the fuck? Like, how is this even possible? So many of us get caught in this kind of realm of all our time, effort, and energy is spent putting out the fires all around us. And therefore, it leaves very little time, effort, and energy for ourselves, which, of course, is not ideal. And in the moment, in the pit that we're in, it feels very real. Like there is just not enough time in the day for me to do any of the things that I need to do for me. There's barely enough time for me to get everything and everyone else sorted, let alone now start working on myself too. And then on the back end of that, we have problem number three, which essentially this way of thinking and this way of acting that leads to these negative results that we're getting ends up resulting in a lack of trust and a lack of faith in ourselves, which then compounds the information overload. Because if I don't trust myself, because of all the times I've tried before and failed, all the times I've tried this person's protocol and that person's protocol and it kind of got a little somewhere and then fell off the bandwagon and ended up back where I was, the more we keep trying things and letting ourselves down, the less we become able to trust ourselves. We become this person that, well, I know you'll give it a go, or I know you'll try this thing, but you'll only do it for a couple of days. We start to see ourselves as the person that has no integrity and won't show up. So we then start, as I say, to lack trust and lack faith in our ability to get results. So if we're in this place where we're lacking trust and faith in ourselves to get results, we're less likely to try and get results. And then, of course, we use that to prevent us from taking action on the different recommendations or protocols that we might see. Oh, well, this expert says go this way, do this, this, and this, and you'll get results. Trouble is, I don't trust myself enough to commit to their recommendations. So these are the types of things that we need to overcome. We need to get over the information overload. We need to get over the idea that we are starved for time and that time management is impossible because there's just too many things going on. And we also need to get over this lack of trust and faith in ourselves, because sitting in these problems keeps us stuck where we are. But if we're able to transition away from these problems and into the possibilities, what we then find is that with possibility number one is our actions and outcomes do the talking. Now, what this means is regardless of all the information that's been overloading us and overwhelming us, we start taking action. Doesn't matter whose action or whose recommendation or whose protocol, we just start taking action. Now, of course, I'm going to give you things to take action on here, but we take action to the point that we either clearly get results because we're taking action and it's moving us towards our goal, or what happens is we've taken the action, but it just turns out it's not the specific action that's right for me. So all we're essentially doing with our action taking is accumulating data. It's like, does this thing work for me? When I go all in on this thing, does it lead me to the results I want? 2 weeks in, yes, it has led me to a result. Great, carry on. 2 weeks in, no, it hasn't led me to a result. Oh, in that case, I need to shift, pivot, tweak, or adapt this thing so that it now starts to trigger results. So we go away from this information overload, this overwhelm, we start taking action and we let our results do the talking rather than all of the experts and the gurus. Then as we come to possibility number two, what we're now looking at is I no longer see things as a time management issue. Instead, I replace that with it's a self-management issue. Because let's face it, we all have the same amount of time in the day. And the issue isn't necessarily that there is too much or not enough time available. It's actually a case of we are unable to effectively manage ourselves within the time that we are given. So it's like, okay, well, I have 8 hours of sleep and then I have 16 waking hours in the day for the average person, say. Now, if I have 16 waking hours in the day and I still can't get everything done and somehow manage to squeeze myself in for 1 hour, then maybe my management of time is not the issue. It's how I manage myself within that time. Because let's face it, time goes on regardless of us. It's a thing that exists outside of what we are and what we can control. We cannot control time. We can only control ourselves within the span of time that we have available. So we shift that mindset from, I don't have enough time, I can't manage time, time is a nightmare, to instead, okay, well, I only need to manage me. I can't manage time, I can't control time, but I can develop the skills, the mindsets, and the heart sets required to manage myself so that I can, again, get the results that I want. And then, of course, this brings us on to possibility number 3, which is you are now response able and you've learned how to trust in your own counsel. So we no longer care what the experts and gurus say, not to the point where I'm just going to ignore you, I'm ignorant to it. We listen, but it doesn't matter what they say in the end, because we are the ones that are comfortable enough and grown up enough within ourselves to now make the decision for ourselves. We're able to discern whether their information in this moment is going to serve us or not. And therefore, we act upon what we discern to be right or correct for us, rather than just what they say, rather than just, oh, he said this, so I must do that. Instead, it's a case of, well, he said this, and based on what I have going on and how I'm thinking, feeling, and operating, and the goals that I want, this is how I'm going to apply it to my life to get the results and outcomes that I need. And then, of course, as I say here, we've become response able. So with our responsibility that we take for self, we learn how to become response able, which means we're no longer reactive to the outside world. We learn how to observe what's going on around us, and then we choose our response to it rather than get caught up in our default action to it based on the stimulus as it happens in the moment. So that's what we're looking at throughout this. So what we're going to do in each of the following videos, they're going to be much shorter than this one, but essentially we're going to break down my metabolic matrix system. And that's going to enable us to start implementing this particular ditch and switch protocol. So what we're going to cover is the metabolic mindset, metabolic meals, metabolic movement, and metabolic melatonin. These 4 foundational pillars are essentially what's going to enable you to start moving forward. We're going to ditch one particular habit or mindset or thing that we're doing, and then we're going to switch it out for a positive one that's actually going to move you towards your results. And then by the time we've got through all 4, and you're consistently taking action with all 4, it becomes inevitable that we start getting the results that we want. And as we get into that groove, and it's now easy to get the results that we want because these things have become a habit and they're just a natural part of our daily behavior, then it's much, much easier to start adding in additional things and making things more perfect, as we would say, that are more aligned with what we want so that we can accelerate our results further rather than being stuck, anchored in this place of uncertainty and not sure what it is we should or should not do. So I'm going to leave that there, guys. Drop down now into our first video within the metabolic matrix, which is where we're going to cover metabolic mindset. And of course, we cover mindset first, simply because the way we think in relation to the actions that we're going to take is what's going to determine whether we actually remain consistent with these habits, with these behaviors, and therefore consistent with the results that we want. Thanks for watching, people, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next video.